The Lit Wax Arcade, where we have fun, friends, and Fix-It Felix Jr. featuring Wreck-It Ralph. It's all new, fully 8-bit, state-of-the-art, and the hottest arcade game in the world. Test your skills against this totally rad wrecker who loves living up to his Only you can save Niceland.
I can fix it!
And be the hero.
I'm older, and I was 12 years old in 1978. Back at that time, arcades were not really a place that kids hung out in. It wasn't until Pac-Man came out and then a lot of the games that followed that brought kids into the arcades. They were generally very dark, filled with smoke, loud, and the clientele were teenagers and adults. I was fascinated with video games from the very beginning. I still play them today. Something about being able to control what happens on the television. I have always found that so fascinating. I had saved up some quarters over the course of a couple of months, just because I wanted to play Space Invaders. When the day came for me to actually play, I was pretty excited. I told my mom I was going to the park. I put the quarters in my pocket and I headed out to the arcade. Now, as I entered the arcade, I wasn't the only younger kid in there. It was really crowded, and mostly everyone was in their older teens. There were also some older guys, but there were 1 or 2 people around my age. But it was very smoky. Back then, there weren't any laws really keeping people from smoking inside. I found the Space Invaders game and was surprised it was in the back of the arcade. It had only been out for a couple of months and I knew it had to be popular. However, just one guy was playing it. I put my quarter on the game to reserve my space as the next player. Now, it doesn't reserve the next game, however. The guy playing the game was probably about 17 years old. He was wearing a dark jacket and had long hair. He was kind of a burnout, I guess. He really didn't acknowledge me when I placed my quarter on the machine. He was too deep into the game. When the guy finally lost all of his lives, I expected him to either insert one of his quarters or walk away. Instead, he reached over, grabbed my reserving quarter, put it in the machine and began playing. I was surprised. It was a clear violation of arcade etiquette. And at first I stood there, just unsure of what to do. He was a big 17-year-old and I was a smaller 12-year-old. So I really didn't want to approach him. Finally, after a few minutes, I did decide to approach the guy. I tapped him on the side and said, "Excuse me, you just took my quarter." He didn't acknowledge me. He just killed a couple of aliens and was quiet. I pulled on his jacket a little to get his attention. "Excuse me," I began again. He swatted at me to knock me away. I came close to him and pulled his arm, which came off the joystick. His character was hit and died. The guy turned to me and pushed me a little. "What the hell is wrong with you, kid?" He sneered at me. "You got me killed." "It was my quarter," I shot back. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. "You wanna play? Then play," he said as he backed away from the game. I went up to the game to play. I entered a quarter and began shooting aliens. I was elated, being that I was finally getting to play the game. And then I felt something. It was sharp, and it was against my back. My attention left the game. "I'll make you a deal, you little shit," the man said in my ear. "You cleared the game board without losing and I'll leave. You die once. I'll sever your spinal cord and you'll never walk again." I was terrified. I had never played this game before and I was nervous as hell, but I had to try. I wasn't going to call out with a knife in my back. I did the only thing I could. I tried my best to play a game that I have never played before. It was torture playing that game. The guy was really close behind me, his body pushing me forward a bit. And the point of that blade in my back, every time I almost got hit and killed in the game, I expected to get hit and killed in real life. With a knife in my back, I played the game. I kept waiting to lose my life and then to die. I had only watched others play it. I didn't know what to do. I just played and played. When the spaceship got down and destroyed my barriers, I almost felt the knife go through me. But I did it and I beat the board. For a moment I still felt the knife in my back, but then it was removed. The man had finally left. I didn't tell my parents about it. I just never went back to that arcade again. I was too scared that that guy would kill me. In 1986, I owned an arcade, thriving despite the video game crash. An unusual teenager obsessed with the classic elevator action spent weeks pouring money and time into the neglected game. His empty eyes and strange behavior alarmed me. After 5 weeks, closing time arrived, but he remained engrossed in elevator action. Attempts to alert him failed, and when I tapped his shoulder, he revealed a hidden gun. Insisting on finishing his game, helpless, I watched as he played on a single quarter. Unconcerned about my presence, the strange encounter ended with his departure, casually knocking the locked door. Alerting the authorities led me to his arrest the next morning. The stolen gun and security footage marked a surreal and unsettling chapter in my arcade's history. The memory of his vacant eyes and obsession with elevator action lingers, sending a shiver down my spine. I was bullied in school pretty badly by a guy named Alex. He lived in my neighborhood and was relentless, always wanting to fight. He'd even show up at parks to chase me away. One day I went to the arcade with some money, hoping for a break. I noticed Alex playing a game, so I tried to avoid him. While playing, I felt a sudden force thrusting my head into the glass of a video game. Everything went dark. In that moment, I saw myself on the arcade floor, surrounded by paramedics trying to revive me. Suddenly, I was in the hospital. I had died momentarily. Alex had hit me, causing cardiogenic shock. An air bubble entered my bloodstream as he knocked me forward, stopping my heart. Paramedics revived me, And when Alex, fearing he had killed me, apologized at the hospital, my parents and I asked for leniency. He genuinely changed after that, standing up for me against other bullies. It was a frightening experience for the both of us.